nearing the end of summer when the garden really comes alive with fresh produce like tomatoes, onions, cucumbers, squash, zucchini, berries, and so much more. Along with that also comes a billion fruit flies, so I'm working hard to get the counters cleared and use up all the fresh veggies that we can. Join me today as I share with you what my family of 6 eats in a week while cooking easy meals from scratch with summertime goodies. Also, thank you to today's video sponsor, Menukora Honey. We embrace the essence of summer so much around here, and that means I spend way less time in the kitchen during these months than any other months. I want to savor every moment summer brings, like sun-kissed days, lazy afternoons, tons of opportunities to connect with nature and hang out with our loved ones. Summer invites us to slow down and make memories, so we've been doing lots of pool days, sunset nights at the beach, day trips, barbecues, festivals. Lots of gardening and outdoor adventures take up a lot of our schedules during this time. Even though I've been spending time in my garden, it has gotten neglected a little bit this year, but my tomatoes are still thriving. I didn't prune them, I didn't stake them, and by the grace of God, we are swimming in them. So up first for dinner, I am going to make roasted tomato sauce with meatballs and pasta. The sauce is so easy to make. I just cut up some tomatoes, onions, garlic, and this time I even threw a little zucchini in and put olive oil on top with some salt and pepper, and then it roasts in the oven at 400 for about 30 minutes. I took this time to join my kids in the pool, and then when it was done, I threw it in a pot and hit it with my immersion blender. But you just have to be careful with the immersion blender because when things are hot and you're like moving it up and down, it can splatter. So just be careful when you're using this type of tool. So it blends everything up, and then I let it sit on the stove for a little bit to cook down and get just a little bit thicker and kind of let the flavors sit together a little more. I'm making meatballs next, but I'm making extra to freeze, and I love doing this in all seasons, not just summer, but it's easy since I'm already doing all the work. I do this with meatballs, meatloaf, chicken, pot pie filling, beef stew, stuffed peppers, and really anything you see in the freezer section at the grocery store. If you just take a walk down the freezer section and see all the meals that they have frozen, those are the meals you can make from scratch and just put in your freezer for a later time. So sometimes when I have extra meat out or if I have extra veggies to get rid of, I'll just like double up recipes, or really just makes my life easier to double up recipes and throw them in the freezer for another time. My meatball recipe is really easy. I used 2 pounds of ground beef with a half an onion, some grated Parmesan cheese, chopped fresh basil, and usually I use breadcrumbs, but I wanted to get back outside, so I crumbled up some sourdough bread that I had for my sourdough class last weekend. Next, I add salt, 2 eggs, and this is random, but these compost bags that I have, you should check these out if you do compost. We use them all the time to put our compost in, and then we just carry it outside to the bin. I can link these in the description box for you. Sometimes I just throw everything in a bowl and bring it out to the chickens, but it depends on what I have, and honestly, my chickens get to the compost pile anyway, so. With the rest of the sourdough bread, I decided to make French toast casserole for the next morning. But since that usually has to soak overnight, I made it while dinner was cooking and the kitchen was already a mess. So I just cut up the rest of the loaf, added some milk, eggs, cinnamon, vanilla, some salt and honey, and then pour it on top of it. And then the next morning it'll be ready to bake. This recipe is actually on my website, sarahgmelito.com. And so the following day, I just create the crumb topping with flour, butter, sugar, and cinnamon and throw that on top and bake it for about an hour. I am thrilled to share today's video sponsor with you guys, and that is Menukora honey. Now, when I mention honey, you might be thinking about the little bear-shaped bottles of honey that you can get at the grocery store, but this is not that type of honey at all. This is basically like honey with superpowers. So it's a Manuka honey, and it has so many added benefits like antioxidants, prebiotics, helps with inflammation, it helps aid digestion, helps with better sleep, and also improves energy, which as a tired mama, I definitely need that in my life. It's easier than ever to try Menukora honey with their starter kit. You just have to go to menukora.com/Sarah. You'll get $25 off, and that starter kit includes an 850 plus Manuka honey, a guidebook, an adorable wooden spoon, and 5 of their delicious honey sticks. I love adding honey to baked goods instead of sugar, adding it to my coffee, on top of my kids' yogurt, and honestly, my kids eat a spoonful of honey like every other day. Now, I love the jar, but the extra pack of compostable honey sticks is perfect for whenever you're on the go. You can bring them with you when you're traveling or you need a quick snack running errands, and they are the perfect energy boost if you're out for a run or at the gym. That's menukora.com/Sarah to get $25 off your starter kit. This is the ultimate honey. Indulge and try the honey with superpowers from Menukora. Thank you, Menukora, for sponsoring today's video. We went out to the garden to get some fresh blackberries because we've been having an unreal amount of blackberries this year. So we're making a blackberry syrup to go on top of the French toast. You can do this with any other berries too. It's super easy. You just throw in a little bit of water in a pan with the berries that you're using and your sweetener of choice. I was using my Manuka honey from Menukora. And then I just let it simmer and smash the berries to create a little bit of like a syrup type sauce. The next meal I'm making is a rustic chicken pot pie, and I did film this a few weeks ago. If you notice, my kitchen looks a little different, or my dining room. We recently arranged things, but I wanted to include this because I love that you can throw in whatever veggies you have, even squash, zucchini, and it would still make a delicious chicken pie. To make the crust, I ground up my flour. Then I just added in some all-purpose flour because I didn't have enough fresh ground flour. Then I add salt and sugar and shred up butter and mix that together before adding in some sourdough discard to make this a sourdough pie crust. After I mix it together, I put it in the fridge for a little bit to come together, and it hardens a little bit, and then you take it out and let it sit on the counter like right before you're ready to roll it out. And while it was in the fridge, I got to cutting all the veggies for the mixture like onions, potatoes, carrots. Usually I do celery, but I was all out, so I use zucchini instead, and I just diced it up really finely. I cook up the veggies in olive oil until they get soft, and then I add in the bone broth, salt, some seasonings like oregano, thyme, and then I put in the potatoes along with some flour to thicken it up. I put a cover on it so the potatoes can cook up, and I normally would just add buttermilk, but I didn't have any milk, so I use this buttermilk powder that I actually got from Azure Standard, and you just add a little bit of water to it and it like reconstitutes into buttermilk. So I add some of that into my, to make like the little gravy, and then I add in some frozen peas, and I definitely made a huge mixture of this. It'll be too much for one chicken pot pie, but it will freeze easily. And I was thinking I should have made 2 pie crusts and honestly just like froze a whole pie, but I didn't get to that. So the pie filling will be fine. I can take that out. And I also love taking chicken pot pie filling and then just topping it with biscuits. That's an easy way to make it as well instead of going through all the motions to make a pie crust. So I threw that in the freezer, that like extra mixture, for another time. For dessert this night, I wanted to make my sourdough oatmeal chocolate chip cookies, which are so delicious, but I literally had a bunch of random chips in my closet, like white chocolate chips, butterscotch, some milk chocolate chips, and so I kind of just made a concoction of that. I will have this recipe up on my blog soon, so I've been kind of perfecting it to make this perfect cookie, and this makes a huge batch, which they're really also great to freeze. Yeah? Maybe you were down for a nap. That'd be helpful. Thank you. This too. I've been getting better at trying to cook dinner while the baby naps if we're inside at that time. That way, when he wakes up, we can enjoy the afternoon outside and not have to worry about dinner. We've been doing lots of cheeseburgers, hot dogs, steaks, chicken on the grill. But one of my favorite dishes that I can make without a recipe or without even thinking about it is shepherd's pie, or sometimes it's called cottage pie. I just cook up ground beef, add in some Worcestershire sauce, tomato paste, but today I just used some sauce that I had left over. And then I add in seasonings like oregano, parsley, basil. I add a little bit of broth to make a gravy too. I use whatever veggies I have on hand for this too, like zucchini and squash, carrots, corn, and onions. Saute those and just add it to my ground beef mixture. Our onions this year have been in abundance too, which has been my first successful year with onions. I'm super thrilled about that because we use tons of onions and garlic in our everyday cooking. I had cut potatoes and made mashed potatoes with some milk, butter, and egg yolk with garlic powder and salt and pepper to be layered on top with some grated grass-fed cheese, which potatoes are another thing that I did really well with in my garden this year. I have found that I don't really like growing potatoes in grow bags, but I actually prefer to grow them in the raised beds because the yield was so much more in the actual raised beds, which took me a while to figure out over the last couple of years, but now I know going forward I'm not going to use my grow bags for potatoes anymore. I just left the shepherd's pie covered on the stove, and then when it was time to bake, I just threw it in the oven for about 20 minutes at dinner time. We recently went peach picking, and so I was very excited to use our fresh blackberries and fresh peaches to make a cobbler. This might have been my first time making cobbler, but it was so good. I do think that I overmixed the batter a little bit, but I swear if you serve anything with ice cream, it's absolutely delicious. So my kids did not complain. I did not complain. It was still very good. But next time I will try to not to overmix the batter, make it a little more, I don't know. I just like it. The texture just didn't seem right. But I also love doing peach and blackberry crisps, and also would make a delicious pie as well. You could use the same pie crust that I use for the chicken pie to make a pie crust for, like a fruit pie. Another way that I love to cook in the summer is by using crock pots or just using the slow cooker function on an Instant Pot. I am making a chicken chili with garden veggies again. I threw everything in the crock pot in the morning, left it for the whole day, came home, and dinner was done. This is probably one of my favorite ways to cook. Honestly, I just threw chicken breast in the bottom, some pinto beans, chopped up zucchini, chopped up onion, chopped up a tomato, lots of fresh garlic, and some peppers. Then I just add seasonings like chili, cumin, paprika, salt, pepper, and fresh oregano, along with some bone broth. I put it on low, and then at the end I just added in some corn and Greek yogurt. I also top it with our favorite toppings when it's all done, like avocado, cheese, and I put hot peppers for mine. I hope that y'all found some inspiration this week to use your fresh veggies, which will change season to season. But these are all staple recipes you can cook any time of the year and just kind of use whatever veggies are in season. Like if it's root vegetables during the winter, you would use more root veggies. In the summer, you could use more like tomatoes and zucchini and stuff like that. Thank you so much to my video sponsor, Menukora Honey. And if you are new to my channel, please hit that subscribe button. Thank you so much for stopping by our suburban homestead.